honestly, I'm not sure which kind of experience this was. A lucid dream? Or did I astral project? Now, I know this happened previously, and I'm always hesitant to do a video like this because, well, as I've told you previously, there are certain elements that for me have to exist in my experience in order for me to share it with you as either an astral projection experience or a beyond body experience. And if those elements do not exist, then I don't feel comfortable saying, yes, this definitely was it. Because again, it is very important to me. I almost feel that there is a certain trust between you and I, a certain trust that we have, and extremely important to me that on my end, that I'm always transparent, always honest with you about each thing that happens. The only reason why I'm presenting this experience is because I seem to have literally either time traveled or went to another reality to the same point twice after opening my eyes. The only part of this is, well, let me get into it and talk about this experience. By the way, just a quick note here, if I sound a little stuffy, my nose sounds a little stuffy, I'm not sure why. Perhaps I have some sort of allergy. So anyways, I apologize for that. My voice might sound just a bit off. But let me get into the experience. And honestly, I don't remember the previous experience enough to really tell you too much about it. What I will tell you is that in each experience, first of all, I went seemingly back through time to the same point where I used to live when I was a child, and I had my first astral projection experience. Truly interesting. I lived in this building, and in this building, there was a lot of activity, I will tell you. I'm not sure. That building was quite old, and when I first began leaving my body, I saw spirit beings in that building when I would come out of my body. It was just a lot of activity, perhaps a lot of spirit beings, perhaps a lot of things had happened. But again, this is the point that I seem to have gone back to. The only part here to me that I'm missing is the vibrations and the separation. I don't recall having either of those things, either time, either experience. So this began back in my room, the room that I had when I was a child. I was there suddenly in that room. And remember, the room was dark. I didn't see my body. I don't recall looking back at the body of my younger self, because assuming that I did go back through time, that is what I would have seen. I went out into the hallway, and the first thing I saw, there is a style of heater, and I'm not sure where you are listening to the sound of my voice here and what kinds of heaters you have where you live. And I'm not sure exactly how to describe this. If I see an image, perhaps I will post it up. It was the kind of heater, it looks like it's sort of rectangular and long, and there's a place usually at the bottom where you can lift. It's like a metal lid, and you can turn it on, turn it off. I remember this from my old apartment building. And when I walked outside, I saw something like this heater. There was a child wedged underneath it that was not moving. Now, this freaked me out a little bit when I saw it. I'm just telling you, as I saw this, I just looked at it and I thought, what in the universe? The child was African American and small, and this did not look like a good situation to me. I'm not sure why I saw that child, to be completely honest with you. Again, the child was not moving. And for some reason, I thought that this was significant. I was like, okay, there's a child there. In my memory as a child, I don't even recall seeing or, I don't know. Anyways, never recall anything like that. This is this is a very strange experience. This was kind of a weird experience. So, anyway, I started down the hallway and I could hear my mother, and my mother was talking to an old friend of hers, a friend that I hadn't seen. I have not seen this old friend of hers for many, many, many years. Interestingly enough, this friend, was the mother of someone who was my best friend many, many years ago. And over time, we grew apart. But my mother remained friends with this person's mother. Now, when I came out, there were things I didn't recognize in the living room. Again, I had lived here when I was a child, and I remember everything. But of course, when I left to move out to Southern California, I'm sure my mom had changed things around. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure even what point in time this was, not having seen a younger body of myself or what. I'm not even this, like I said, very, very strange. There were things I did not recognize on the wall. And my mother was having a conversation with this old friend of hers. At that point, I wanted to test things out because I felt like I was astral projecting. I felt like I was a spirit being, but just to make sure, I walked by both my mother and this friend, and I waved my hands wildly, and I said, "Hey, hi, hello, can you hear me? Hey." And I started trying to get their attention, and neither of them saw me, couldn't see me, nothing. So in my mind, I thought, okay, well, they are definitely can't see me. So I must be out. I must be projecting at this very moment. And so at one point, it's so interesting. I remember at one point touching my mom on her back just to make sure again, and there was no reaction. But I did actually feel her back when I touched her, which was weird. I would have thought that my hand would have gone straight through her back, but it did not. I touched it. I touched her back, but she didn't seem to react at all to it. Then I went out into the patio. I don't remember whether I went through the glass. I think I did. You know what? Interestingly enough, it's so funny. I'm recalling this experience as I go along now. Now, what I'm thinking I did, I remember I stood at the patio. And this is what I used to do when I was younger, too, when I would leave my body. I stood at the patio and I flew straight through the glass. My patio back then it was a glass door, and you could slide it. But again, this is what I did when I was young. That's the same technique that I would do. I would just fly right through it. And I was going through the night sky. Now, I don't recall what was below me at that point. I was just looking through the sky, and I was quite happy. For those of you who have listened to previous videos about my astral projection experiences, you know that I have thoughts about what is the most practical way to get around when you are out there, when you are projecting. And the most efficient way, as far as I am concerned, is to move with the power of thought, where you think of something and you are drawn there immediately. It's very, very targeted, very specific. When you fly, it's kind of up in the air. And because, from that perspective, you're never sure exactly where you are. At least that is the way it was with me. I always flew just for pleasure when I did it. I didn't know where I would end up because navigation wise, it was just different. So I was flying, and it was nice. It's always a pleasure for me to fly. Always cool to fly. And as I was flying, another interesting thing happened here. I could hear my mother's voice as I was flying away from the building. And of course, this had to be through thought. Telepathically, she must have communicated with me, or some aspect of her must have done this. And this is not unusual. Even though she wasn't conscious of me being there, that voice that I heard may have been some version of her that was definitely conscious. Remember, I've talked about the fact that we exist on many different levels. So that voice I heard probably was some aspect of her, and was reaching out to me and said, "Hey, are you okay? Did you want me to come with you?" And I believe that I responded saying, "I'm fine, but great to see you," that kind of thing. I believe that's what it was. Again, recalling bits and pieces. And telepathy, by the way, telepathy is at least from what I've experienced in the astral plane, is an unusual thing. It's not always words. Many times it's feelings. It's you feel someone, you feel their thoughts. You don't hear the words of the thoughts, but you feel them. Which I know it may sound kind of weird, but being someone who can pick up on someone's emotions, I've always had that ability in my body. I've been able to pick up on someone's emotions. So not too unusual to me when I'm out there. It's just that sense of picking up on people's emotions is magnified 50 million times over. So when I feel what someone is feeling, I can understand what they're thinking as well, which again, kind of difficult to explain. Now, at one point, as I was in the air, I came down, and it seemed to me that maybe it was just the right moment to come down. I'm not sure. I came down on a path, and I was in a park. And the thing was, I do remember that there was a park near my apartment building that I would go to. And for some reason, I'm thinking it could have been that, could have been another park, who knows? I'm not even sure exactly how long I was flying. Again, I've talked about, I'll say it again, flying is wonderful, it's fun, but it's very imprecise. It's not a way to get to a specific destination if that's what you want to do. the last thing I recall about this projection experience was walking down this path. I believe there was a structure that I was approaching, but at some point I opened my eyes here in the 3D world, and that was the experience. Again, I will definitely, and I definitely want to say this before I end this vlog, that I'm not sure whether this was a lucid dream or an astral projection experience because of the reasons that I told you. So that's it. Thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. And until next time, take care.